Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Hey, why is it just me? James, did you put yourself out? All right. All right, James tripped me up. Took himself out of it. Welcome to another episode of Lounge with Legends. What is going on, James?
Nothing other than being hidden in the green room. That was pretty cool. No, I got excited. I saw that the C-130. I was like, man, am I going to board this aircraft and exit?
I'm telling you, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, all the way, everyone. Let's go. Yeah, we got our JTF, Joint Task Force 214 marketing campaign underway, getting ready for our Q4 kickstart. That starts October 18th.
Man, that's right around the corner.
You set yourself up for success for Q1 by doing the groundwork here in Q3.
Yeah, Q4, what you do now. You know, we learned this in the military, right? If you don't prepare 90 days out, what do you know? But you know what they say, no course of action and no preparation is a course of action.
That's true.
So,
yeah, this is your, consider this the air campaign before the ground forces launch over the berm.
Airborne.
But yeah, so this is a great week. This is our last quiet week.
Oh, I thought you were going to say this is the 27th episode, but yeah, you got me.
It is. But I was going to say this is our last quiet week before we start getting into conferences and craziness, because next week we got AUSA.
It was. I thought this was not a quiet week, but okay.
Well, it's all relative. But it's a quiet week. We got AUSA. We got Veterans Grow America at Fort Meade. Got to have Donnell. Triple Nickel's going to be there.
Yes, sir.
Going to have a bunch of great veterans in Fort Meade, Maryland. So it's going to be a busy week. My Sunday should have been spent doing the Army 10 miler, but that's now virtual. So I guess that's good.
I was wondering why my entry form was accepted. Said you can now participate in the 10-miler. I was like, thank you, virtual.
Yeah, so we got a lot of stuff. Like we said, we got the Q4 Kickstart kicking off, and then we have we got a bunch of other. We got the Have mission coming up in November, the Humble Alphas. Yeah. It's a great opportunity. The Humble Alphas, Stephen Eugene Kuhn and Lane Balone are working with Street Shares for a pitch contest to help them out. And they've also got a great conference out there. It's last time we all got together was 2019 for the Military Influencer Conference here in DC. And it was such a powerful event. It's basically, if you walk out of there without learning anything, you just weren't paying attention. I mean, you're going to learn so much there.
Well, this is when I make the offer. Hey, if you all need help with your pitches, you know who to call.
There it is. There it is. Let's see what we already have coming in. We've got the Queen. Hello, how are you doing? So
I saw my cousin calling in too from Kentucky, or I guess he would be technically Indiana, but he just messaged in too.
Oh,
hello, Nick Phelps. Thank you for being a big, true supporter.
Man, I think what else we got going on? What's been happening with you?
Just, like yourself, just working on some things that are right around the corner. We've actually helped. Today we helped 2 veterans with their message, clarify their message. If you confuse, you lose. So I'm really excited about that clarification and that journey that we're helping them on. And then, for a non-related topic, unfortunately, I was excited last week. My 16-year-old daughter's boyfriend broke up with her, so I was excited. Right, this week they're back together. I'm not so excited. So now I'm gonna have to turn on the heat a little bit more because now I understand what agenda is needs to be taken care of. But anyway, it's been just life, and that's the thing that you and I always talk about. We're able to bounce and leverage off of each other because we're both going through this life thing together, and we're sharing from our experiences. And luckily for you, I'm going through these teenage years before you are, because I'll be there to help you with Isabella and Little Ranger before he gets to be a teenager.
Oh yeah, that won't happen. She promised me she's never going to date. She's going to be a nun.
So. Well, my middle daughter, Taylor, she promised me she never wants to drive. So I was like, I'll take you up on that offer. And I saved the video. So she's not going to get a car because I have it on tape.
Oh, Nick's talking about how he doesn't like you.
Well, get in line, Nick. Get in line, brother.
So who do we have this week?
Well, I don't know. The room's starting to smell a little bit better. I can tell you that.
I'm waiting for this. Our guest, she promised that she was going to make a special Spartan 6 fragrance. It smells like 556 Claymores and Detcord. So
trademark that. I just trademarked that. # trademark.
But Nick is clarifying the boyfriend. He doesn't like him. Okay. I still think you don't like James.
Well, hey, congratulations to Nick, though. He actually got his marriage certificate today.
Congrats.
Yeah, congratulations, Nick.
All right, so back to our legend this week. We've got the Queen of Fragrance coming into the lounge. Amazing story. We first met her at a Veterans Grow America event, Fort Bragg. She was there, and it was hard to miss her with her big personality and her wonderful luxury line of fragrances. And so we had to walk over and talk. And then we found out about her book and her story. And I was like, okay, dude, stop. We got to get you in the show. And so that was in July. This is how booked up she is it took this long for us to get on her calendar. Talk about bigwig.
I think it was she just had to make sure. She had to double check our credentials, But, the funny thing about that event, it was so hot out there. I remember that event like it was yesterday. It was so hot. Just to survive that event alone, I commend you. So for her to stay out there that whole time with Veterans Grow America, that deserves a reward in itself. That was a hot day. That
is when Donnell's shoes melted.
It was. And that's when you taught me how to wear my suit jacket over my triple nickel shirt.
Because you would have been a heat casualty.
Wouldn't have been the first time.
All right. Well, enough of us jaw jacking there. People don't dial in to talk to us. They want to know, get that legend in here. So let's get her in here. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. Yes, it's all about me. Welcome. I'm so glad we were finally able to get you in here. I know you're so busy. Every time we see you, you're doing something. You're hanging out with Uncle G, Grant Cardone, or somebody. Must be nice. But we're happy
Damon
to have
Johns.
you here.
Don't forget Damon Johns. I saw her picture with Damon Johns. I saw that.
Yeah, you're big time. So welcome, Magda.
And great to be here, guys.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here. I know James has been talking about all this, but he said he's going to upgrade his fragrance from Brut by Fabergé.
Old Spice.
Sorry. But
oh man,
let's get into this. I mean, you were in the Army, and you had a different MOS, a different job than a lot of people that are coming into the Army, male or female. That's just, most people don't go into this. So can you tell us, tell us your story. Tell us, what drew you to the Army, and, what were your influences to get there? Let's start with that.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you very much. It is an honor to be here with legends and brethren, fellow Army brethren, which is so cool. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Ranger that.
And just to be clear, leg over here. Even though the unit I belonged to was an airborne unit, there was just, it comes down to the choices you make in life, and deploying outweighed going to school. So
wow, it's fun. Yeah. It's like we always say, the Air Force, they're the best Uber drivers for us in the world.
My back and knees would much rather be in your position at this point.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So I grew up in the New York City area, and really it was September 11th, seeing September 11th. I was 29 years old, literally watched all that. And that's what compelled me to leave my world and go serve a higher purpose.
Right.
That higher purpose was in the form of the United States Army Reserve. And I joined up with a unit out of Staten Island, New York, the 353rd KCOM, Civil Affairs Command, and deployed with 2 subordinate units over the next few years. Obviously, I had to go through the training pipeline first. And my area of operations was Iraq. So I did 2 tours in Iraq, and came back in 2007.
Yeah, wow.
What was your MOS in the
Civil Affairs.
Army?
Civil Affairs. So
what's the number for that one?
So, well, it was 38 Alpha initially, and then they updated it to 38 Bravo. And at the time, when I enlisted, it was the only reserve unit under Special Operations Command. So, which was pretty cool. And the standards were pretty high across the board. And then, of course, as the war efforts, between Iraq and Afghanistan grew, and the demand for civil affairs specialists grew, they opened up the pipeline to general purpose forces as well. So things started to change. And then at the same time, they were maturing or opening up the active duty side of civil affairs, which at the time, is all Green Berets, former Army Special Forces who went there, after serving on the teams, they went, to civil affairs units. So both efforts were going on at the same time. So there was a lot of shifts in how things were done and organized, the force structure. But I got in when it was cool.
So for those the uninitiated, can you explain the civil affairs mission a little bit more in civilian terms. What was kind of your task and purpose as you were in Iraq during the surge and all this other?
Right. So from a civilian standpoint, you'll hear the term hearts and minds, and people have referred to civil affairs as the the State Department of the military, which those of us that are in it understand. We're not just throwing out soccer balls for the sake of throwing out soccer balls. There is always a distinct military purpose behind each mission. And, we deploy in peacetime and in wartime as well. So you serve, when you're in a civil affairs capacity, you serve as a bridge between the military and the civilian people. So, you can be meeting with local elected officials one day, then you can be meeting with, regular residents of a town the next day. And you're basically, passively taking, you're not an active intel collector, but you're taking what we call atmospherics and taking all that data. And, first you build the relationship, and then you take that data and you report it back to the battalion commander, whoever you're attached to. And they use that to, help paint the puzzle along with the hard intel they're getting from the intel analyst to, determine the picture on the ground and determine the best course of action going ahead. And so it's a very, very, it's a diverse kind of job, multifaceted, let's just say. So, yeah, you find yourself in many different positions. I mean, I can't believe how many, units I was attached to, which was like such a blessing because, there's the historian geek in me, amateur historian geek in me that, I remember, hey, you guys are being transferred over here. Your team's going over here. You're going to be attached to, like first cab. I'm like, what? It's just, it was a great experience in many ways because it was not a mundane, routine type of job. And, it's funny, we're all in business now. And we know business is predicated upon relationships that you build. And, that's a big part of your success is your ability to build relationships. And I look back at the experience of being a civil affairs soldier in, in a time of war and deployed overseas in combat zone. And the fact that we were dealing with so many different, tribes, which is not that different from business. You're
right.
Different people.
Yeah.
And so it really brings the best out of you to obviously, number one, survive, right? Accomplish the mission, So, but at the same point, it sharpens your skill level. And I just see such a parallel between business and what we did in civil affairs.
So you had an unfair advantage. You already had that training for business before you even left the military. Marty, he's just a grunt.
I was actually, I did have some entrepreneurial endeavors, but I was more or less my adult career at that point had been corporate. So I was an employee for big companies. But when I was younger, I dabbled, of course, in different entrepreneurial areas. But I came from that employee background and career track, if you will, in the information technology space.
Awesome.
There was we got Daniel White talking about the bad news bears. I think you can look at it as bad news bears, but I mean, honestly, James, I don't know how much time you spent working with the civil affairs teams, but it kind of was bad news bears, but in a good way. Like for us, so I was deployed November of 2007 to April of 2009. That was one deployment. It was a long one. And my job was to mirror the State Department's provincial reconstruction teams, but at a local level. And I was doing that for the battalion and the brigade. I was a commander at the same time. And so the civil affairs teams were vital in us working together because you really did have to, 1 minute you would be doing what we call the SWOT assessments, the sewage, the water, the electricity, the academics and trash, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so you're doing this, and the next meeting you're trying to figure out how to run a city council meeting. And so you have all this. So what it brings, and I think to Magda's point, is by working with these teams and working in this, it makes you really have to focus on relationship building communication, and problem solving. If that's not entrepreneurial 3 blocking and tackling task, I don't know what is. But it's definitely a combat multiplier. The CA teams, the bad news bears, as he said.
I never said that. He said that.
No,
he's just kidding. I mean, I had a moment where I may or may not got put in the front lane arrest position by a major. That was a civil affairs major. But anyway, I probably deserved it. But that's just the key thing. It's all about relationships. And every day, I can imagine every day was different. Some of us stuff that we were doing was kind of like the same old thing every day, and it got redundant. Whereas your stuff was probably changing at every moment, at every minute, probably.
Yeah, it was very dynamic. But it was fascinating, interesting. I mean, obviously getting into business, you either love that kind of life or you don't. You want to be
right.
You want to have a more routine, stable, if that's even a term used during a military deployment. Like it's one or the other, I guess. And I was definitely attracted to that. So I feel blessed to have served in that capacity. And then, even between the 2 tours to Iraq, and it's funny, Marty, because I came back in April 07. So right before you had gone over, we progged each other. But even between those tours, we did peacetime deployments to, say, Tbilisi, Georgia, part of the Partnership for Peace, the big
PFP.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I remember sitting in a very Spartan room with a colonel, a Georgian colonel, and our team, and we're drinking the beverage of the area, and I think we had like M&Ms from the MREs, like that was like our offering to them, and we had like a little social powwow there, and it was just like really interesting because he had these tattoos on his wrist that were like little blue dots, and they were actually their Purple Heart decorations. So we had just really interesting conversations, but just getting to meet other people from other cultures, and in this case, like as I just mentioned, somebody who served as well, obviously went through some really tough battle. It was amazing. I'm so grateful. As I always say, like serving in the military was like the best job ever. And it's what you make of it, because everything I did, I was never, other than training, your initial training, I was never directed to go there. I volunteered to go. I said, please send me. And again, another parallel with business, right? You have to put yourself at play. You have to put yourself in the room. Or you know what I mean? It's the same concept. And if you're, a go-getter, an action taker, a risk taker, there are parallels between both.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask, so culturally, did you run into any challenges or difficulties while deployed in the Middle East, being a female?
Not at all, because it's different than Afghanistan. I think Afghanistan, it was I don't know, or at least my experience where we were in the Sunni triangle, they respected the fact that, you're armed, hard target, locked and loaded, like gender didn't come into play at that one point. The only time, there was one time where one of our, the elected officials that we, met with on a regular basis, he did not want to shake hands, with myself and the other female that was there. That was it. But we still had the conversation. We still had the dialogue, obviously through the use of, through an interpreter as well. So other than that, I never felt it, never sensed it, because it was just the posture we took, So very different than in Afghanistan.
Right. Now it's interesting because I know with our team, like we said, we had our we call ours the embedded local reconstruction team, play on PRT. We were the ELRT. But what we did is we purposely, since I was in charge, I brought out my medic, I brought out my chemical officer, because I pulled all this out of Hyde. And I made sure we had females on our team. as we went out to show that, that we're all brothers and sisters in arms. And what was interesting is that we were able to actually, during that tour, we saw them vote for a female, and she sat on the board at the Nahia, the Nahia Council, which is like a city council. And then we actually even started our own radio station for females, so that they had their own radio station. So it was definitely an interesting time while we were there and doing that. So that's why I was asking, because you were there just a little bit before me during the height of the gunfighting with the surge.
Yeah,
We were getting we straddled that. We fought our way in, and then by the time we were done, we were literally walking the streets and doing building swimming pools and micro grants, micro loans, etc. So I had to learn economics really fast as well. So,
yeah, those were interesting times. But it's interesting. I deployed pretty much to the same general area of operations in 04 and then 06, 07. And in that short period of time, 2.5, 3 years, you could see the difference, like the intensity. Obviously, like the advancement of the enemy TTPs and like how it evolved, and it was just kind of weird. Same place, but things looked a whole lot different.
yeah. So what were your biggest takeaways from the military as you were leaving the military? Obviously, we always have challenges, but hunt the good stuff. What were some of the takeaways that you still carry with you today into your business world? We talked a little bit about some of them.
Yeah, it took a long time to realize it. Consciously realize it, because the transition was horrible, like it was for so many others. And it's, well, I would say probably even more so back then in the earlier days of the war on terror versus now, where there were more resources and understanding of root causes of problems and everything, so the transition was horrible. So like that was the focus, just like survival mode, staying in survival mode. But years later, I can realize, that I was, well, not just myself, but we all are tested in so many ways when we serve, because you're serving in somewhat of a vacuum, like when you're stateside and you have challenges and obstacles and adversity throughout your day, you still like go home to your family, or maybe after 3 weeks in the field, you go home to your home, but when you're deployed overseas, and back then communications wasn't like it is today, and that's worldwide, obviously. So you were really isolated in many ways, with the people in your network, your friendlies, your internal friendlies, and your internal not so friendlies. I mean, a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of service members, and we all know, have struggled with challenges with leadership that was not so great, And when there's no outlet, there's no reaching out to someone, So yeah, you get tested in many different ways. Everybody's story is different. But I realize now, having been through everything I've been through with that experience, how much stronger I am, resilient, adaptable. And that's powerful, because that's innate. That's something in you. And, once I, like I said, cleared everything and got through my survival mode, years of trying to keep my head above water, transitioning, because that was the hardest part. Serving overseas was, but there were challenges, but coming home was the worst, in so many ways, and transitioning, that was hard. So that being said, yes, to answer your question, like looking back, my goodness, like I know what I'm capable of. Like I know, I don't need anybody to tell me, it's a very powerful feeling to be so in tune with who you are, because you know what you've gone through.
Right.
Like, most people outside, like we could have a conversation, the three of us, very, like you're tracking, I'm tracking, but obviously, because, unless you've been there, you just don't know. And so it's hard to really articulate that sense of self sometimes, but I live it. and it directs my actions and why I'm doing what I'm doing and how I do it. And I know it's a very powerful force, so I hope to be able to instill some of that in other people. And, those who have not, say, been through the types of challenges that we've been through, they can find that growth in their own lives. They don't have to go join the military and deploy, to a war zone. They can develop themselves, but it's not going to happen unless they get uncomfortable and get out of their comfort zone and, pretty much seal their fate that they're going to experience some adversity, because if life is, comfortable and easy, you're only going to be able to, pivot so much when you're faced with adversity. So I'm very grateful. Very grateful.
Yeah. You said a word that I think every one of us, everyone watching should take notice of, or if they didn't, jot this down. It's the action. You said action, right? And that's what you've been doing since you transitioned and transformed, and now you have your businesses. It's about that action. And I think we all have, something that we could, relate to as far as pull from our reserves or pull from our backgrounds, but it's that action that makes, you different and makes us different. So that word, that when you said that word, my ears went bing, bing, bing. So that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Action.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was going to say what you're talking about, the testing, the knowing your mettle and kind of looking at that is basically, it mirrors what we learned in Ranger School before we had all these combat deployments. We would go to Ranger School as these ultimate leadership school. There's a reason why you don't eat, you don't drink. You don't eat, you don't sleep. And you walk essentially from Savannah, Georgia to Boston in 62 or 72 days, depending on when you went. And it's to mirror the stress of war, of combat, to get at those lessons of what you just talked about. Is I know what I'm capable of. I know my leadership style. I know how I react under pressure. I know how I should react under pressure, because you get those too. You're like, man, I really screwed that up. And so that's awesome. I always love when I can hear people actually take those lessons from the military, because I think that's one of our military superpowers that we talk about all the time. How do you translate your military superpowers into business success skills? And that is right. I mean, that's a huge one right there.
100%. I mean, and I wish all veterans would realize that. And, it's good that these conversations are taking place amongst veterans who've been there, done that, and can testify and are leading by example, but that being said, because that really didn't exist in the beginning of this war effort, because, everybody was so gainfully employed, right? But that being said, there's a lot of, I caution, because, you'll hear a lot of in the self-help world, manifestation and dream boards and this, that, and the other. And I think some people get lost in the comfort of that and don't take action. And, and that's why, I will say for sure, taking action will put you in play and get you there. And dreaming, wishing, hoping, not so much.
I love it. We just had a discussion about that just last week with one of our clients. Is no, bro, that's a dream. Mm-hmm. Fix your business mission statement so that it's time-based and it's measurable. Basically make a SMART goal out of your mission statement so that you can now set the goals and knock them down by quarter, and there it is. That's how you take a wish and a dream into an emergency, or not emergency, but an action plan, an actionable plan.
100%.
You got to stop planning. You can only plan for so long. You got to LD. You got to cross the LD, and you got to get into it, or you're never gonna, get out of the alpha. That's home base for folks.
So let's do that. Let's cut to commercial, and then we're going to talk about how Magda LD'd into the business world, and then we'll get into that. Oh no, we got to talk about the book. Amazing book. So we'll do that. But first, let's give a shout out to our sponsors. We've got Triple Nickel, who will show the official provider of our shirts, and I believe Magda Triangle Fragrance is also Triple Nickel. They're going to be at Veterans Go America. And then we've got A-Rod with the Salute to Suits, where we're doing a giveaway for one veteran to have a complete suit, 2 shirts, 2 pocket squares, 2 ties that we're going to give away to one deserving veteran. We'll start taking nominations next week. So we'll do that, and we'll be back after word from our sponsors.
When you see a veteran wearing that new outfit, he feels like $1 million. Giving back is key for me, quite frankly. We did an event called Suiting Our Heroes, where we invited everybody to come in and basically donate their gently used suit. Because there's a lot of veterans out there, to be quite frank, that can't even afford a suit. So what we did was we had the community get involved, giving food, giving some soft drinks, and basically come out and donate your gently used suit. What we did with those suits is we went ahead and gave them to veterans that couldn't afford anything because they're gently used. We had them tailored. We donated a shirt and tie to go with that. And guess what? When you see a veteran wearing that new outfit, he feels like $1 million. And he knows he can go out there for the next chapter of his life and feel confident about that.
You're watching the Lounge with Legends TV show with your hosts, Marty Martinez and James A. Phelps.
There he is.
Didn't leave me out this time.
All right. So we just talked, we got Magda Khalifa of Triangle Fragrance and the author of the book Freedom Triangle. Did I get that right?
American Dream.
American Dream. So sorry. Geez. I was looking at the commercial. So American Dream. We were just talking about her journey as a soldier and then the impact that it has on her business. And now we're going to talk about, she's post-military. Let's talk now about where you're at. What caused you to write this book and what's the inspiration between the fragrance? I mean, there's just so much to unpack. I'm going to let you decide where to join on that one.
Sure. And thank you for playing Victory, that commercial. I will not lie, sitting here with you guys, my brothers, who've been in similar situations, and when I think about when I made the Victory commercial, I believe it captures the spirit and bridges of that decisiveness and action taking that we all did as members of the military, and the spirit of the scent. It's the ultra masculine scent, but I wear it too. I have a lot of female friends who wear it too. Like, that's not my daily go-to, but Victory. It's like that feeling of just going forth and getting the win for yourself. It may not be for your business, but for your life, whatever you're struggling with, to capture that victory. So thanks for playing it.
No, that's so good. We talk about that all the time. How do you activate your hustle every day? And if you've listened to us, we talk about hustle and grind is a myth. activating your hustle is what you really need to do. Because if you're grinding, that means something's getting worn down. And typically it's not life, it's you. Life is going to wear you down if you focus on the grind. So focus on how to activate your hustle. And with that, with an inspiration like like that commercial and the meaning behind it and everything that you put into this, I agree 100%.
Absolutely. And yeah, so I mean, I came back in 2007 from the last tour, and as I mentioned earlier, transition was not cool, not fun, you know, like for so many other vets. But being stubborn and being a whatever, you know, being a, I don't know what the word is when you don't give up on yourself, you know, even though at times you just want to give up in life, you know, you don't give up on yourself. And I just made it through the next day, through the next day, through the next day. So functional on the outside, worked full-time as a defense contractor, completed my master's, you know, part-time at night. So I was functional, but living very small, living very reclusively, very withdrawn from society, other than, you know, the brethren I could connect with. And they weren't necessarily there, you know, many of them were deployed and overseas and, you know, so not in physical proximity, but just kept pushing forth. And then eventually a series of things happened over several years. You know, first was getting my health right, you know, cleaning up my diet, you know, the old school way of thinking of how to eat clean, out the window, learned a lot about that. You know, this new thought was emerging, and, you know, the internet was connecting us and more information was readily available. And, you know, I surrounded myself in one of the CrossFit communities. I was living in Virginia Beach. So I learned about, you know, paleo lifestyle and keto and this, that, and everything, you know, and, you know, all the bad stuff in our foods and processed foods. And like little by little, my mind started getting blown away. And I started realizing, applying critical thought to realize that a lot of the beliefs that we collectively as society have been taught to believe, right, we're wrong. We're very self-serving to the organizations and interests that put those beliefs out and promoted it. So I started questioning everything, you know. But in the process, I would apply what I learned, and I started to develop this, you know, superhuman sense. Again, getting my life back. So first it was the health. Then, you know, from the business side, like surrounding myself with the right kind of people. And that was two parts. I meant, you know, dismissing those who were not serving me as a human. When I say serving, I mean negative, toxic, holding me back, not the right environment, because it's all about your environment, you know. And then immersing myself with the right kind of people who would say the right things and who would live the right things and were the right kinds of examples. And so the combination of all of that happening over the course of a few years helped me heal, helped me kind of stabilize again, get my footing in life, you know, because I did, I'm not gonna say I wasted years, because I worked. I did things, but I played really small. So anyway, so fast forward, what are we? We're in 2021 now. So 2019, I was very entrenched in, addicted to, if you will, in learning what I didn't know, what I didn't understand, and applying that critical thought. And I was getting a lot of great inputs. And, you know, you would go to events and listen to a lot of different speakers, and some would really speak to you, really, really hit the nail on the head and tell you, maybe not you individually, but they would say words that really, really spoke to you, you know.
Yeah.
And that started happening. And through a series of events, I realized I got out of my comfort zone. And for the first time ever, I shared with civilians a little bit of my story. And they wanted more. They're like, it's your duty to get this out for X, Y, and Z reason. And I thought, I can't argue that. They're right, you know, because looking at our veteran suicide rate, which we all know is a lot worse than any numbers that are reported, and all the issues that veterans are facing transitioning, having been there myself, you know, I realized I've got a duty, you know. So I wrote the book. I wrote the book in about 3 weeks. Took a few months to like research, cross my T's, dot my I's, learn the process of self-publishing. And the book came out 2 years ago this month. So it's called American Dream. And it's before war and after But it's not just like, hey, this is my story. It's like, hey, here's the takeaway. This is what you can apply in your life. This is a little nugget of critical thought that you can apply to your life, even if you didn't join the military. You know what I mean? So it's giving back in that sense. And DREAM, because military loves acronyms, right? So DREAM, DREAM, discipline, D for discipline, R for resilience, E for endurance, A for adaptability, and M for mentorship. And that's like my little formula for turning my life around, you know. So in the book, I introduced a little sticker now, Freedom Triangle. Freedom Triangle. Yeah, it's based on, it's on page 171, and it's based on time freedom, health freedom, mind freedom. And those are the tenets of this framework that I introduced to the world so that people can start finding their freedom triangle in life. And when they achieve that pinnacle, first off, they're better off than never achieving it at all in their life. Second of all, they just look through life through a different lens because they have clarity and they have found inner peace and their true self. So it took me 40 something years to get to that point and that pinnacle. So that's what I share with the world.
I love that.
It only took you 3 weeks to write the book?
Not 90% of it.
Wow.
And then, yeah, it was crazy because like, and that's the thing, when I think this applies across the board, when you're so clear on something,
Yes.
so clear, it comes easily. You move, you know, like a hot knife through butter, right? And so that happened. And then, you know, of course, as I was learning really more or less how to get it out there in the smartest form and format, and you know how self-publishing industry has changed and everything. Of course, because I was so entrenched, I had just gone through my journey in life, right? There were a lot of thoughts that came up, and it helped me realize more things. And there's a real time, you know, at the end, chapter of epiphanies, about 5 epiphanies that I was like, you know what, share it right now. Boom, boom. This is what happens when you're so clear on you, your mission, your life's purpose, everything. It all comes together when you find that freedom triangle. So it was kind of cool.
I apologize. I'm looking off screen. I am making sure I get everything into the comments so people can find your book and your fragrance. And Donnell mentioned that his favorite is the Moac. I don't know what that. Oh, sorry, Freedom.
Yes, Freedom is one of the 2 unisex scents, and it has that beautiful, you know, sweet smell of freedom. So you have that lingering campfire, that, you know, comfortable campfire scent that so many of us who have been in the fray love, you know.
I was telling my dad the other day, who was coming on the show, and he said, well, what does she do? I said, she sells freedom in a bottle. You know, I was like, you know, because I mean, that smell for me, and I don't like to ever talk about me, but for me, the biggest transition for me, the biggest thing that stays with my mind is smells. If I smell certain smells, it triggers my mind. And that's why I was like, what is it? It's a smell of freedom. I love it, you know, because we both, you know, all 3 of us know the opposite smell, and that smell there is still there too. So anyway, I love fragrance. Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, James, because it's intentional why I chose a fragrance line to develop a fragrance line, because it all ties back to that freedom triangle and the power of scents and associations, you know. So yeah, Triangle Fragrance was inspired by Freedom Triangle.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And you're right about the scents. Like, you know, I started my career in Savannah, and that smell, that paper mill smell, still gives me, still kind of messes with me, because every morning, because you would smell it mainly in the morning, and that was during PT time, and that's typically when I'd get my bag smoked the most. You know, by those tab spec 4s if I was a private or whatever. So, you know, there's things that come back. Or if you get, every time I get off the plane in Iraq, you'd be like, we're back, boys, you know. So
But it's really important that people know that they can, replace experiences and associations if they choose to. And it may not be right away, but I've learned that, like myself, people can take any kind of trauma of the past and convert it so it's actually something positive. And if we're not taught that in life, either like kind of learn it along the way or not, so that's why I'm kind of repeating that message, because everybody's been through something challenging or perhaps traumatic, at some point in their life. Especially the older you get, there's more likelihood that happened, and maybe more than once, but you can absolutely turn that around. But like we have that mind freedom, that ability to be able to do that. So that's why with Freedom Triangle, I'm trying to walk people through that journey of turning it around themselves, because then it is innate. And then once you realize the power, the superpower you have in yourself,
absolutely,
it's mind-blowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of all your fragrances, which one's your favorite?
So it's like picking which child is your favorite.
I know. Which child is your favorite?
I love them all. But I will say there are ones that I wear for certain, occasions, like specifically. And because they're all unique profiles. I do wear them all. Like I mentioned, Victory's the more, the ultra masculine. That's that, Cuban tobacco, Russian leather, bourbon. And I think you both will recognize the Victory. Smells like Victory.
Yeah.
What movie was that in?
That was Apocalypse Now.
Yes.
Now you know why he's the Moac.
Useless knowledge stopped in my head.
Yeah, and I thought about it when I was designing it. I was like, this is going to be lost on a good bunch of the population, globally, but that's okay, because we think about that scene, right? It was a movie, right? But like, it smells like.
I think that was one of the first things we had. You're like, it's Victory. I'm like, does it smell like napalm?
Yeah.
Napalm in the morning.
I love the smell of fresh napalm in the morning.
So what I love it. So people don't have to choose. You have a sampler pack, right?
Yes, the Discovery set, and that has vials of each of the 6 scents, and then it lists the notes, the different scents in there on the back. So when people order that, I send them like a little instruction sheet to get the most out of the experience, so that they don't cheat and look ahead and read, hey, what's in it, and then smell it. You basically want to experience it. There's different intervals, and do it outdoors instead of inside, so it doesn't interfere with other scents and whatnot. But that way it really speaks to you which scent works for you. And even though I have 2 are marketed for men, 2 are marketed for women, the other 2 are unisex, because I had to make a call and like figure out what I was going to do to get that going. But at the same point, like I have a lot of people, like I said, who wear scents that are marketed for the other gender, because a scent is scent. If you think about it, if you're going to go buy a candle or an air freshener, you're not going to buy, they're not like for men and for women, it just is what it is. Yeah. So, but yeah, to answer your question, yes, I wear them all. You'll have to experience and see which one is your favorite.
Yeah. So for our viewers, you're giving a special promo.
Yes.
And it was, I'll put it up here. So you can go, if you're watching, you can get on this, and then we'll put it on the social media as well. But if you go on there, we're doing lead. Why is that? Because James and I are all about lead the way. And I think it was perfect for Magda and what she talks about, because lead is an acronym, just like dream. Lead, we help you with your laser focused mindset, employ your military superpowers into business success skills, acquire speed through deliberate, decisive action, and dominate your market. So lead is our acronym, just like dream is her amazing acronym. I love it. So if you go on to trianglefragrance.com, put in promo code lead, what do they get?
Yes, they enjoy 10% off any of the 100 milliliter bottles, so they can experience
awesome
confidence, victory, clarity, energy, peace, or freedom.
Wow.
When you're coming out with the dream fragrance, the dream one.
Yeah, they're it was hard narrowing down my, initial offering to the world here, but it's all good. I'll be around for a while, so I think this company will be around for a while as well too.
Sweet. Just as long as we get the Spartan 6 line out before the MOAC, we're good.
Absolutely.
So it's that time. We've got to ask the question. Let me switch the banner. So, Magda, you've served, you've sacrificed, you've given up so much during your deployments, and your family gave up a lot because having you gone. So freedom for us means something a little bit different, and so we want to ask you, Magda, what does freedom mean to you?
Absolutely. Freedom is the ability to find who you are as a person and live the life that you want to live. And it could be a combination of external factors or internal factors that are controlling you. But when you get to a true point of freedom, personal freedom, you're going to be able to become who you are best at being, because it's so clear there is nothing holding you back.
I love it. I love this question. We started this, so we had a theme for everything, and every answer they're so unique. And that's definitely one of our, it's different. I love it because it's a different take on it. And I really love it. James, you were saying something, sir?
I was frozen. My internet froze for a second. I'm sorry.
So awesome. Well, we thank you for being our legend this week. We have the link to your wonderful fragrance in the comments, as well as your book. Highly recommend everyone go and grab those. Are you going to do the Veteran Grow America event in Tampa?
I think I may have to check the date, and yes, I would love to be there. It would be a wonderful experience again.
It'd be cooler. It's in December.
Yeah. And
Donnell promised it wouldn't be hot then.
No, December, and I speak as if I've lived in Florida forever. I haven't, but I was here last December, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Definitely the best place to be in the winter.
Well, go check her out. We thank you for your sacrifice. Donnell said December 18th is the Veterans Grow America event down in Tampa. Don't forget, we also have one coming up next weekend, Fort Meade. We're going to have Triple Nickel will be there. I will make a showing and represent JTF 214 and Lounge at Legends and hang out. I think the popcorn guy is going to be there, which I always lose when he's there because I wind up with like 5 bags of popcorn. Dang you, David! But so again, thank you for being our legend this week.
Thank you, legends. Thank you, brothers.
Thank you.
All right, James, absolutely, just another stellar legend. I mean, it is.
This is a 27th episode. The time is flying by, and just what a great episode.
Yeah. So next week is going to be fun because we have a number of events. Like Donnell saying, October 16th, Fort Meade, Veterans Grow America. A lot of veteran entrepreneurs. Buy American, buy veteran. Go buy Fort Meade and get your veteran-owned goods. I mean, it is you can't beat it.
And then go online and use your promo code and buy the fragrance.
There you go.
Thinking victory or freedom would be the ones that I need to rep on that one.
I think so. Next week we have another legend coming in, another Marine.
Yeah.
We've got Kyle Hansen, Recycle for Veterans. He'll be here talking about another unique mission and what he's doing there. So that'll be October 13th.
Mm-hmm.
James and I will be probably with Donnell in AUSA at the Ignite event. If memory does serve me correct. So
you're right. And then don't forget, you also have the British Army, Jonathan Bowman Perks. Your
right.
episode with him.
I'll be on his podcast with Jonathan Bowman Perks. and we were just on JR's God, Country, and Coffee podcast. So you can find us and listen to a bunch of great veterans doing amazing things out there. So again, thanks for tuning in. Check out Triangle Fragrance. Use the promo code LEAD for your 10% discount, and then check out her book. It's an amazing book. James doesn't have an autographed copy yet. So
do you have an autographed copy?
No, I'm going to get mine.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if you got me beat on that already, I'm upset again.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, and be legendary.
You've been watching the Lounge with Legends show on E360 TV, countering the narrative that veterans are all broken misfit toys. Veterans are the lifeblood of American freedom. Serving in harsh situations, coupled with their training, have forged them into some of the most resilient and capable leaders in the world. And that's where we come in, celebrating the success stories, taking you on a journey of transformation from military to business. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back soon. But find us on Facebook at Lounge with Legend or at JTF214. Till next time.